others while allowing them to function. In other words, networks of such 20-minute neighbourhoods in the city would not only encourage local, healthy and sustainable living, but would also help to build lasting resilience to future contagions. Now, to achieve the shifts in thinking and practice throughout society that we're going to need to create slow cities, Rodney and I have offered a statement of principles and a declaration of intent in the form of a manifesto for 21st century slow cities. That's a list of the headings in the manifesto. I won't talk about all of those, but I will focus on one: human, scale and equitable. And in that we state that slow is human, scale and equitable. We must cherish the fact that slow cities are child-friendly, human scale places. Walkable streets, housing and services in close proximity, and plentiful green accessible civic spaces benefit everyone, not just the wealthy or tourists. Now, implementing this manifesto using the practical actions discussed in our book requires visionary and courageous leadership. Fortunately, there's examples throughout the world of such leadership, and one of the best is in Pontevedra in Spain, where Miguel Lorez, the mayor, who used to be a medical doctor, effectively slowed the city and dramatically improved the health of the city, the human health, the environmental health, and the economic health. Now, leaders like Miguel Lorez, who challenged the culture of speed, will be rewarded with cities that are healthier, happier, safer, less unequal, more sustainable, and more prosperous. And we can confidently predict that slow cities will be the most successful cities of the future. And elements of slow cities are appearing already in cities throughout the world, some with policies that predate COVID. Two really important examples are Oslo and Helsinki. And over the last 10 or 20 years, they have been implementing many of the strategies that Rodney and I outline in our book. And in 2019, neither city had a single pedestrian fatality. That's incredible achievement. Another example is Mexico City, and Rodney Tolley took this photo of the Sunday morning ciclovia in Mexico City. As he points out, even the dog gets an outing, if not exercise. Now, those cities are now being joined by hundreds of others where COVID has initiated or accelerated policy to slow the city. No large city has achieved slow across its entire area, but that's going to take time. But further waves of COVID will make it more likely. What COVID has done is it's shown us what we can do when we make health rather than speed a priority. And the key point for society to grasp, and many young people have already grasped this point, is that the speed-induced climate and ecological emergencies are as serious and immediate a threat to life as is COVID. So it may be no exaggeration to say that if the city itself, or you could say humanity, is to survive, all future cities must be slow cities. So to summarise, the hurry virus is a devastating global problem that we have largely ignored. Responding effectively to COVID-19 will create the conditions for cities to prioritise walking, cycling and public transport. And the pandemics of our time are an opportunity to reimagine a new normal of cities that are slower, closer and healthier. So here's the takeaway message. The solution to our city transport problems and many of our global challenges is not more speed. The solution is very simple. Slow down, or if you like, slow the heck down. Or if you want to just change 2 letters in heck, you could say slow the hell down. Thank you very much.
Ben? Unmute, Ben. Unmute. Unmute, Ben.
Oh dear, how could I forget to unmute? How embarrassing. Trying to do too many things at once. Paul, that was absolutely fantastic. Thanks very much, and really got me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question, just let me know in chat, and I can invite you to ask a question to Paul, but keep your questions short. While we're waiting, Paul, do you have an absolute favourite city or suburb or part of a city which sort of encapsulates, everything you'd like to see?
I'd love to go to Pontevedra. I think from what I've read about Pontevedra, it is just magical. It was a city that was just dominated by speed, dominated by cars. And when the mayor took over, he said, let's apply our health thinking to the city. You can cure the city in the same way that you cure a person. So he said about reducing speeds. The speeds throughout the city are 30 kilometres an hour or lower, giving more space to pedestrians, reducing parking. And now he's got a city where the majority of children walk to school. Even though car ownership is high, the walking rates are really high as well. So people don't drive their cars. They might own them, but they don't drive them. And economically, it's doing really well as in addition. So areas around Pontevedra who have been in decline, a big contrast, but Pontevedra is doing really, really well.
Well, thanks, Paul. Barnaby, you have a question. Would you like to ask Paul? You have to take yourself off mute first, Barnaby.
I was just wondering, so thanks for the talk. Tactical urbanism is obviously great, and I did my thesis on that, but I was just wondering, what other things do you think we can do to support this change? Because obviously you need a particular scale and opportunity to do the tactical things.
Yeah, well, I think that word technical is important, because one of the biggest problems is that the people making the decisions about transport are the technical people, the engineers, the planners, and they have been trained and to focus on speed. They haven't been trained to focus on walkability. They haven't been trained to focus on making the city more livable. They haven't been trained to focus on economic vitality. And when you look at what speed does to the city, it destroys all those things. So I think if we can somehow get the professional training of our experts to accept that speed has been an absolute failure and it hasn't achieved the benefits that we were told it was going to achieve, then I think we'll start to get somewhere in terms of how we can slow the city down. So that would be, I mean, there's heaps of other strategies as well, but in terms of where to start, we can start with local people, but there's 7 billion of them, but there's a smaller number of experts and professionals, engineers, traffic engineers, and so on.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. Here, do you have a question? Take yourself off mute.
Hi, Paul. Thank you very much for a very nice presentation. My question is very similar to Barnaby's question, to be very honest. I mean, we see already today that many cities, they changed a lot already with COVID now. And as you mentioned, now they're kind of getting back a little bit to the old business, but still, I mean, we see, at least in Europe, but I think also worldwide, quite hopeful, nice examples of cities that decided that they will continue. So, so my question is double. On one hand, what's your experience? Do you see cities that really want to continue now the route that they explored with this COVID and this old tactical urbanism? And then secondly, also it's kind of, what is the best strategy for us, mainly as pedestrian organizations, to help in keeping this momentum flowing? I mean, should we go to the big shots, or should we go to the technical people or the political people, or what would your advice be?
Okay, well, in answering the first question, I've got to report that Canberra hasn't done very well. We're very rapidly going back to the same old dominance of speed. It was lovely during lockdown. I met so many people just walking around our suburb that I hadn't seen before, who were out walking or doing landscaping in their front garden. So Canberra's not a good example, but you can see plenty of other